Dear viewers, welcome to our channel on practical project management. This is a channel that is dedicated to discussing various aspects of project management, especially the practical aspects of project management. That is to say, moving from the classroom situation, moving from the theories to what is happening on the ground, the practical aspect of it. Today, we'll be discussing one of the common phenomenon known as a scope creep. Do you know what is a scope creep? Why does it happen in our projects? And as project managers, what can we do to prevent the occurrence of a scope creep? Please join me and subscribe to our channel if you have just joined. And please share the link so that others can follow along. And you are welcome to give a like and comment. Welcome aboard. So let's talk about overview of scope and scope creep. So let's start by looking on what is a project scope. So a project scope is a total work that is required to deliver a product, service, or results. That's what we call a project scope. And actually, it defines boundaries of the project, what is to be included and what is not to be included. We talk about what is to be deliverable, what is to be delivered, what are the deliverables, what are the requirements, and what are the tasks. And also we say a scope is a combination of product scope and project scope. So what do we understand by a term scope creep? If you look into this diagram, the cycle, we have two parts. We have the inner or the core, and then we have the outer part. So the inner part is what is regarded as a scope, what is included in a project. And the outer part is what is outside a project, a scope. That is what we simply define as a scope creep. So, if we look into this project, this is a childhood eye health project, and the scope of it includes the screening of 10 schools, the referral system that is put in place, the 200 surgeries that will be performed as a result of the screening of the 10 schools, the training of the health workers, 20 numbers, and also community awareness where 5 sessions will be conducted. So this is what we call a project scope. It has a budget that has been approved, there is a timeline, and there is a team that is assigned. So if you do anything outside or beyond this is what we call a project scope. For instance, if you include a purchase of a vehicle to support the screening team, that's where you get into the project scope creep, because the purchase of a vehicle was not one of the agreed aspects of a project. So, by definition, what do we mean when we talk of a scope creep? We say this is uncontrolled expansion of project scope. Please underline the word uncontrolled. So if it is controlled, then it's not a scope creep. But if it is not controlled, that's when we talk about scope creep. So it's a phenomenon which occurs without time, cost, or resource adjustments. It's a change that occurs without a formal change control, without an agreed mechanism to approve it. That's when we say it is a scope creep. It leads to a project inefficiencies because you are doing something that was not part and parcel of what was agreed in the beginning or when the project was initiated. So look at this photo or picture here. Here we see that there is the original project scope, agreed milestone, and the finish time. Everything is set. But then we start seeing some extra requests that are happening. Please add this, add that. And then we also see a client requesting for a change. But actually, this wasn't in the plan. So we say it's unplanned changes. This is what we call a scope creep. Small addition to a scope. One today, the other one tomorrow, the other one a day after tomorrow. When you add all this, you find yourself that the project is out of scope. So, why does scope creep happen? Well, there are a number of factors that are contributing to the occurrence of a scope creep. One is poor scope definition. When there is no clear definition of a scope, there are chances that you can undergo a scope creep because there is no guidance on what is to be done. Anyone, anytime can make a change. Scope creep also happens because of lack of stakeholders alignment. You introduce a change, but you introduce something that is not in alignment with what was agreed with the stakeholders. You don't engage, you just decide on your own. Okay? And it also happens because there is no formal change control processes. Normally, in project management, we are told if you want to make any change, you cannot make that change on your own. You need to consult, you need to engage. And there is a special body known as change control body, a team that looks into the proposed changes and provide a go or a no-go. A go or no-go. They look at it, they make some analysis, and then at the end they can agree whether to agree with a change or not to agree with a change. And if there are some frequent informal requests, this can also cause the scope creep. And also when there is a weak governance or pressure. So when you say when there is a weak governance, that it means when there is no one who is overlooking, who is looking at the changes that are being introduced. Or if there is a pressure sometimes, maybe a pressure from the donors, pressure from the people above saying that we need to add this, we need to add that. If all these are taken into consideration, then a scope creep can happen. What can we do, or how can we do to control scope creep? One, we need to have a clear definition of a scope. To be very clear on what is included in the scope. And also the work breakdown structure, because this is the breaking down of tasks into smaller manageable units. So if you introduce the work breakdown structure, it can help you to control what is to be included, what is to be carried, and what is not to be carried in the project. If you have established scope baseline, this is where, as a team, you agreed that this is what a project can do. This is what is included in the project and it has been approved. So that's what we call a scope baseline. If also we use the integrated change control, and if we engage stakeholders regularly and monitor and control the scope, then we can be in a position to ensure that the scope creep does not happen. Takeaways. Scope defines project boundaries. Scope creep is uncontrolled change. Underline that, uncontrolled change. We do not say that change cannot happen, but if they are not controlled, then they can lead to scope creep. Use change control board. This is very important. And ensure that control can ensure that project can become successful. Thank you very much. See you some other time. Bye.